that it was nighttime, Balaylahu, and Nadada Shnas HaMelech, the sleep of the king was moved, was disturbed. Meaning, a crack opened for us to see what does it mean when the king is sleeping? What does it mean when we're in galus? We thought galus means we're disconnected, we're pushed away. That's only on the external. Internally, in the Shnas HaMelech, in the sleep of the king, inside it, actually we're even deeper and closer and more connected than ever. The Rabbi brings this out in an amazing way. The fourth last line of the page, Reish Samches. But when the sleep was disturbed, and what's happening in the source up there, when that was expressed b'pnimius, we could actually experience what Hashem is experiencing, down here in our reality. So then, the intimate bond that Hashem has with the Jewish people is revealed in full force. In other words, externally it looks like that when the Beis Hamikdash is there, we're bound up with Hashem. Hashem is close with us. The destruction of the Beis Hamikdash and the exile of the Jewish people was we're being banished. We're being pushed out. So the relationship is on hold. That's what it looks like externally. But we just learned. But internally, what does it mean? It means, no, the revelation of Hashem in our hearts, in our neshamas, that is even stronger and more powerful in the times of galus because it's gone up to its source. It's not revealed, but it's as it is in its source, which is even deeper. Like when you're sleeping, your powers are even more there. They're more present, but on a higher level. They're not revealed. Okay, so what do I get from there? I can say I'm in galus now. I'm in exile. Hashem's light is not shining. I'm not feeling it, but I believe it. I read it, so I believe it. We're even closer to Hashem now, but we just can't feel that. For a moment in the Purim story, the king's sleep was disturbed, meaning in the midst of sleep, in the midst of the night, there was a crack opening for us to experience what is really going on. What's going on up there in the divine realm became manifest down here in our realm. And that's when the miracle of Purim happened. That Hashem showed how the Jewish people in exile are His people. And His relationship with us is the deepest that there is. So, you see how the Rebbe now has explained Nod and Shas HaMelech, what the sleep was disturbed. It's not that he stopped sleeping. In the midst of sleep, there was an opening, which is really two opposites coming together. Really, you're either asleep or you're awake. Here it's saying, no, the sleep was disturbed, meaning in the sleep, there was revelation.
Like sleep talking or something.
Maybe. So, this emphasizes even greater the opposites coming together in galus. On the one hand, the greatness of the Jewish people, our deep connection with Hashem in the time of galus is even greater than in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. Why? Because the revelations in galus are not down here; they've gone up to their source, which is where the Jewish people come from. This is where our soul belongs. So up there, we're even closer to Hashem. And nevertheless, up top of the next page, on the other hand, not only down here in this world do you not see that greatness, that amazing bond that we have with Hashem, it's not apparent. Not only that, we are dependent on the nations that we're in galus under, and we get our hashpah, our divine flow of energy comes through the sarim, the angels of the nation that we belong in. So on the one hand, in galus, we have the deep connection and bond, the direct connection that the Jewish soul has with Hashem is even more powerful, more strong in galus than it is in the time of the Bayis. of the Beis Hamikdash. Because when the Beis Hamikdash was there, our relationship was revealed. Now our relationship is on the concealed level, which is deeper. So on the one hand, it's deeper, but on the other hand, we seem, on the revealed level, to be so disconnected from Hashem that we're dependent on the nation that we live in. Even spiritually, our spiritual flow of energy comes through the Sorim, through the ministering angel of the nation we live in. That's who delivers the hashpah to us. A part of being in galus means that we are subjugated to the host nation. And our hashpah comes through them. On a simple literal level, what that means is that the success of the country we're in will be our success. And the opposite also the opposite.
What about in Israel now? Like,
so it's not through Sarim, but it's still concealed. It's not like the bias. So if you're living in Brazil, the Jewish community in Brazil, and Brazil has an economic collapse, that's going to affect the Jewish people on just a literal, simple level. Like that's how it works. It's not like we're exceptions to the rule. And if it's prosperous in a country, so then that will be good. And if in England they vote in a government that is anti-Semitic, that's our problem. Like we receive from the nation that we're in. So that seems like we're totally at the mercy of the host nation. Like the Jewish fate is not in our hands, and it's not coming directly from Hashem. It's coming through the means of the country we're in. Of course, within that, you can have an economic collapse in Brazil and the Jewish people could still be successful, but it still has to come through the means of nature. And you could survive in England even if the government is this or that, but it's got to go through the system that Hashem has put into place, which is we're under that nation, we're stuck there. So on the one hand, we seem so disconnected and far from Hashem, but in reality, we are totally bound up with Hashem at that moment. In fact, even a higher level than when the Beis Hamikdash was. So the Rebbe now illustrates this idea in two very powerful ways. The second line of the page. V'yesh lomer, shezer ma'taimim shegalus nimshel le'ibur. This could be one of the reasons why galus, being in exile, is compared to a pregnancy, ibur. That we find the metaphor used as the Jewish people are collectively like a fetus in the womb, and Geula, redemption, is like being born into the world. So the galus state is like being in the womb. Why? Because in pregnancy we find two opposite features. That the fetus in the womb, are they in a good place or not in a good place? Is it where they belong or where they don't belong? On the one hand, it says in the Gemara that there is a candle lit over the head of the baby in the womb. And the baby is taught the entire Torah while they're in the womb. The candle is a candle of divine vision where they can see from one end of the world to the other. They have total clarity. They know who they are and what their mission is and where they need to go. And they're taught the entire Torah, so they're given all the divine wisdom. But this is only and specifically in the womb. While the baby's in the womb, they learn all this. They learn this Torah, they have this wisdom, they have this vision. However, when they're born, it's all forgotten. And like it says in the Ha'ara down the bottom, in note 43, there's no days that are as good as those days. The days in the womb are the best days of your life. Not to be pessimistic, but that's an idyllic existence where you have that light shining and you're being taught Torah and you're in the warmest place of love and comfort, and there's no better time there could be. When you're born, you don't have that anymore. And the Rabbi mentions in the note that this is the reason, one of the reasons for the Shalom Zachar. It's a sud of Nechama. that you've come into the world, and in this world you don't have what you had there.
What about the girl?
So for her, she sees the beauty of this world. She doesn't need a nechama. Dir tachtonim, malchus. So that's on the one hand an idyllic existence. The best days of your life are in the womb. Afal pikin, but nevertheless, b'yoseh bebeten imoy. When you are in the womb, roisha ben birkov, your head is between your knees. Meaning she'ein nikra mailas haroish ala raglayim. You can't see in the womb any difference really between your head and your legs. It's not your brain learning Torah. It's your neshama learning Torah. The brain is not functioning yet. Not only is your head not greater than your legs, it's between your knees. Meaning, like it's lower. It's actually not all that utilized your head in the womb. Even the food that you eat in the womb. So the lashon in the Gemara is that you eat what your mother eats. You don't eat it, and it's not even through your mouth, but it goes directly into your belly. As this is explained in detail by the Alter Rebbe in Torah and the Rabbi after him go into the details of how pregnancy is compared to galus. Why? Because on the one hand, on a pneumistic level, what's going on is the deepest thing in the world. In the womb, you've got this light shining, you're learning Torah all day. On pneumius, you're in the highest state you could possibly be. And b'chitzonius, externally, you're in the most useless state you could ever be. None of your functions are working. Your brain is not doing anything. Your brain is the same as your feet. It has no mila whatsoever. You're in a state of total concealment. Your talents and abilities and who you are, it's all concealed at that time. So you're having the highest experience of your life, and you're also like totally not able to express anything. That's how you are in the womb. So fascinating. The Rebbe says, so this is another explanation of why is that a metaphor for galus? Why is the womb experience a metaphor for galus? Usually we understand that in the womb you're stuck, you're trapped, you can't express yourself. When Geula is when we're going to be born and we can actually be who we can be. Our neshama will be fully revealed. The Rebbe says, but there's also the advantage of the womb experience, and that is that you are in a state of a higher state. You're learning Torah, and there's this. You're surrounded with kedusha, so that's even higher than when you're born. You'll never have that again on that level. So even though on a revealed level you're stuck, you're limited, you can't express yourself, on a deeper level, you're having the highest experience there is. So too in galus. We're stuck in galus, there's no revelation. The mila and mata, what's above and what's below, it's all mixed up. That's true on a revealed level, but on a deeper level, what's happening in galus is an unbelievable intimacy and closeness with Hashem. And the avodas Hashem that we do now is happening on that level, on the level where there's no revelation, and yet we're connecting with Hashem. That's the deepest type of relationship you can have.
Because even though we don't feel it, we still do it.
Mm-hmm. So that's the difference between the ibur. The baby in the womb is really not doing anything. We, even though our faculties are not working, even though there's no revelation, we're doing mitzvahs now in this state, and that is the deepest connection that we can have. Interestingly, the Rebbe brings in note 41 that the Mittel Rebbe in Toras Chaim says that the fact that galus is in some places compared to being asleep, and some places compared to being a baby in the womb. So the Mittel Rebbe says hakol inyan echad. It's exactly the same thing. The Mittel Rebbe says, being asleep, being in the womb, it's exactly the same thing. I mean, obviously he's talking about the metaphor for galus.
Yeah.
It's saying the same thing in two ways. We can understand that perfectly now because now we understand what sleep is and we understand what the baby in the womb is. Sleep is where your faculties are not being expressed, but they are on a higher level. They're functioning even higher. That's when you're asleep because they've gone into the soul. Being in the womb is where the baby's faculties cannot be expressed. Their head is between the knees, but they're experiencing a higher level of learning and divine connection than when they'll be born. So the sleep and the pregnancy are actually both metaphors of the exact same thing.